Hi there, Man Alive listener. This is your host, Shayna James. You may or may not know that I started a new podcast. It's called Practicing Love, Have the Best Love and Sex of Your Life After 40. I wanted to post a few episodes over here so you can get a feel for the new podcast and hopefully subscribe to it so you don't miss any of the new episodes. I'm excited to build on Man Alive and support people, all people, with love and relationships, dating and sex, and what it takes to not only keep love and sex alive, but to actually have the best love and sex of your life, especially in midlife and beyond. Though to be honest, whatever age you are, there will be powerful information for you there. So I hope you enjoy this episode of Practicing Love, and feel free to reach out with questions and ahas and also topics you'd like to see covered there. Hello. Welcome to this episode of Practicing Love. I'm your host, Shayna James, and this is my new podcast. After 300 episodes supporting men, and I believe actually supporting everyone who loves and engages with men, I have decided to shift focus. And as a relationship and dating coach and workshop facilitator for more than 20 years now, supporting people with love and sex and intimacy and communication, this is what feels important to me. The practice of love. So I'm bringing back what I've done in the past, which is bringing people of all genders together in relationships, mainly romantic relationships. But truly, all relationships are, the principles are the same. Whether it's romantic or with family and friends and colleagues, we get to practice love. And we'll explore having the best love and sex of your life and why this time after 40 is the time when this is possible. Why you're at a stage when you can experience what most of us couldn't have when we were young. And how we can put down the masks and the facades and step into an authenticity that is the doorway to more fulfilling and exciting love and sex. Having the best love and sex of your life is not about your body working optimally or needing to be young and culturally attractive. It's about the intimacy of being known and loved and expressed. And if we look at sex, because it's sometimes a more concrete way to see complex and subtle relationship dynamics, better sex usually isn't about new positions or skills. It's about finding and co-creating new ways to feel pleasure and connection, to experience nuances and subtleties that happen when we relax into being more present and available. It's about letting go of what you should do or you should like or who you should be for your partner and discovering yourself honestly and your connection with another honestly. Your body can become a superconductor. As I talk about in my book, Honest Sex, you can shift from one-dimensional or physical sex to four-dimensional sex, which includes the physical and adds the energetic, the emotional, sometimes even the spiritual, and the capacity to amplify pleasure and intimacy by feeling what your partner feels as you feel it. And this can happen in new relationships and in decade-long relationships. You can feel love and a kind of communion, right? In addition to pleasure, in ways that are almost impossible to describe in words, but they're bonding and they're healing and they grow and they open you. And it can be incredibly healing when someone is attuned to and deeply listens to you, your body and your heart, and when you attune to and listen to someone else. The experiences I've had, both in love and sex, are so deeply touching and profoundly moving and healing and even life-changing. And they are what make it possible for love and intimacy to last and to improve over time. And most often, when clients come to me to talk about their sex lives, we rarely talk about the physical act of sex itself because there is so much that happens in the realms of communication and emotional availability and knowing what really matters to each person and how to connect in ways that people feel truly heard and understood. So as I dive more into describing the practice of love, you can hold this as the context, that the practice of love, the what and the how and the why we do it, are the foundation for love and sex where you feel met and you feel understood and expressed and appreciated and supported and nourished and connected, and that this is possible for you, as it has been for the thousands of people I've coached and supported. So I want to do a quick intro to what I mean by practicing love, why I believe it's important, and how you can practice. So let's start with the what. The way I see practicing love is that it's an acknowledgement that love is not something we just find or fall into. I know that's the, the saying, we fall in love, but that it's actually not something that is static or this everlasting feeling state or high. Love can deepen and it can get richer over time when we humbly and willingly bring our awareness and our consciousness to see what are we doing that blocks love, that kills love. Now, being human is not easy, let alone commingling our lives with another person, with all of our wounds and patterns. I think it may be a sick joke of the universe that we're drawn to people who mirror our family patterns. But we can also look at it as that there's a wisdom there. There's an intelligence there that in doing so, we have a chance to heal and we have a chance to become more whole. And I think that's what's so challenging about romantic relationships is that if we're not expecting these patterns and triggers to show up, then we can be blindsided by them. We can even feel betrayed by love. But the reality is, we are, I think, shouldn't say reality, I'm going to say my perspective, is that when I started to see relationships as a path of growth, I stopped feeling like a failure. I started allowing situations and struggles to show me what is my next growth step, growth edge, growth. What can I do to learn to love better here? Whether it's myself or others, or oftentimes in most situations, it's both. So instead of thinking, oh my God, why the fuck is this happening? Or feeling like I'm a victim to this and that life is happening to me, not actually for me, I shifted to be able to see, oh, okay, there's something here. There's something here for me. There's something here for us. And it's incredibly humbling, right? I am in no way perfect, nor will I ever be. But the more that I learned about my defenses and how I was trying to prove my worth or my goodness, rather than simply staying in the hurt or the disappointment, someone else's disappointment in me, I'm learning to let go of my masks and facades and to actually create connection and intimacy there. And I'm learning to be honest about who I am and what I feel capable of, while also willing to be curious about who I'm becoming. Because I do believe that we are always becoming. So to me, practicing love is like going into a dojo. It's creating a safe container where we can hone our capacities for self-knowing and for connection. And again, we're never going to be perfect at it, but that's not even the goal, right? We can be humble, we can set down our swords, and we could look at the person across from us and see, how do we love better? How do we stay connected? Why do we practice love? Well, I believe that if you don't practice, you're much less likely to have a relationship that lasts. I've been through a divorce. That was about 12 years ago. It's been a long time now. And that was one of the biggest lessons of my life. So much learning came from that. And, I no longer see that as a failure. I see that as, I wasn't practicing as much back then. I had more arrogance, or, I thought I knew what I was doing instead of being willing to humbly engage and to make someone else's perspective as right or as important as my own. So if you engage in relationships thinking that they should just work without any tending or learning on your part, what I've seen over the years is that those relationships will likely fade. Or even worse, they'll become bitter and resentful. And in the practice of love, each person gets to become a reflector or an activator for growth and for healing to happen. And there's something that I see where couples can often end up as though they're on different teams, right? Me versus you. If you get what you want, I don't get what I want. But when you actually come together and you recognize, oh, we are on the same team here. We're going to work together to see how we can each have what we want or meet the needs that are arising. Then everything can be a doorway for connection. And if we're not blaming or shaming or attacking, then we can feel hurt or upset. We can navigate mismatched desires or different attachment styles and different love languages. And we can actually work through these things to build trust and to create more love and to heal the ways that most of us were not seen or heard or held in the past, whether it was family dynamics or, our initial relationships. I can't tell you how many people I've heard, it breaks my heart, where those initial moments of rejection or not being wanted live in our hearts for so long. And when we actually get to be honest and bring those vulnerable parts to another person, they heal and we can be more whole. So, how do you practice love? There are a couple foundations I see of practicing love, and we get to play and explore. And again, it's like exploring or experimenting is the way I like to talk about it, rather than trying to get it right or, putting something into action that the stakes are so high that we can't be like kids in a sandbox, right? If we can't explore, if we have a sense that we have to get it right, then what happens is we get stressed, we put pressure on ourselves, we put pressure on others, and it's so much harder to find a way through. So one of the foundations that I see is to engage in love in a willing and humble way, rather than just expecting it to happen and getting pissed off at someone because it's not happening. That we actually tend to a relationship with humility, and that we're willing to look at our partner and say, oh, there's something you need that actually isn't as important to me, but because I care about you, I'm going to put my attention on this too. Or I'm willing to put my sword down because I care about you. I might even love you, even if I don't feel it in this moment. I know that I love you and I want to create something beautiful together. And it can be hard to believe that that beautiful thing is possible. I remember recently talking to someone who said, sure, it would be great if we really understood each other. It would be great if we didn't get stuck in these conflict patterns, but I don't know if it's really possible. And I got to say, you don't have to know how. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to help create the how. When I'm with my coaching clients, I'm here to help them look deeper and understand what's really going on. But I do know that it is possible, and I do believe that it's possible for all of us. Another foundation of practicing love is letting go, like I said, of blaming and shaming and attacking, and instead doing your best to create deeper and loving connections by taking responsibility for your part in any dynamic. Really recognizing there are two parts, to at least two sides to every story, right? And the more willing you are to be as vulnerable as you are honest, to be vulnerable in your honesty, and to receive others' vulnerability with care and compassion, the more we get to actually have connection. We can explore forgiveness of ourselves and others, and we can step into more of our desires more of what makes love meaningful, more of the things that really scare us when we feel safe. And a lot of that safety is created by letting go of blaming and shaming and attacking, and instead sharing more vulnerably. This is what hurts in me when you say that, right? Rather than you're being a jerk. That doesn't tend to go over very well. Another foundation is that builds on that is treating others with respect, right? Not taking others for granted, or worse, being mean and bitter and punishing. So when we become aware that we are playing out, and the practice is to become aware of when we're playing out these dynamics where we're subtly or not so subtly trying to get someone else to hurt because we are hurting, or when we give ourselves license to treat people in ways that we would never want to be treated, that we can actually wake up to those moments and instead choose to treat someone with respect, choose to treat someone like you want to be treated. And one more foundation is to bring curiosity and being willing to wonder rather than jumping to conclusions or believing that you're right and having no room for someone else's perspective or someone else's way of seeing something. It's being willing to consider that people have positive intentions behind their actions, and they are not always apparent. We know this on first glance, right? The surface action or the initial action is not always an artful way to express that positive intention. But when we're willing to look deeper than that, when we're willing to say, ow, that hurts, and can we look at this together? Can you help me understand what's really going on? I don't like what just happened, and I don't want to attack back. I actually want to understand you. Makes all the difference. So we, in practicing love, get to have compassion, first for ourselves and then for others. We don't expect ourselves to be perfect or not to make mistakes. We don't expect others to be perfect or not to make mistakes. We actually know that we can clean them up if we make them. We can repair, and we can bring ourselves to each other in a way, again, that's humble and where we're trying to step into learning to love better. So none of this is easy, but that's why I see it as a practice, because we do our best. And when we don't, we have compassion for ourselves, and we can recommit. And we can recommit to prioritizing connection, and connection in a mature way, right? We notice the parts of us that want to lash out, that want to pull away, that want to have a tantrum. And sometimes we can even learn, there's a practice that I think is, quite extraordinary, where you can learn to bring those to each other, but with consciousness as opposed to just being run by them. So the more we're practicing, the more everything, like I said, can be a doorway and an opportunity to see and heal ourselves and to connect with another. In my book, I wrote a chapter in Honest Sex, You're Not Who You Think You Are, and Neither Is Your Partner. And there are powerful teachings out there, internal family systems, self-history. One of my friends and colleagues, Sarah Marshank, refers to these parts that in internal family systems are parts. Sarah refers to them as selves. These different parts have ideas, fears, righteousness, hatred. They are parts that never evolved or develop. And so as we're practicing, we can start to choose to engage with others with our more mature parts. And we can listen to and have space for the younger parts, the more immature parts, but we start to connect with others and relate to others with these more mature parts. So what I'm really excited to do is bring you people who are willing to show their struggles, who are willing to admit to having them, And they're also willing to admit to and talk about what they've learned and what they're now practicing. And I really do my best to stay away from, what struggles have you overcome? What challenges have you overcome? Because I think it's more like, what struggles or challenges are you practicing with right now? And my hope is that you'll gain more understanding of and compassion for yourself and others, and that you'll feel less alone. And you'll see what else is possible for dynamics that you may have felt stuck or hopeless inside of. So, with the practice of love, I have guided others to deepen connection, to reconnect, even to transition from marriage to a different kind of relationship, sometimes separation, sometimes co-parenting. But all of this can be done in the practice of love. And therefore, we don't need to be bitter. We don't need to be accusatory. We don't need to be righteous. We can actually be vulnerable. With love as a practice, I have done this myself and I've guided others to do all kinds of things, whether it's deepen connection, whether it's reconnect, whether it's to add spark or intimacy to your sensual or sexual life, relationship, even transition from marriage to ideally a supportive relationship, sometimes a co-parenting relationship, sometimes continuing to be in family in a different form. Ultimately, the practice of love makes it possible to do all of these things in a more caring and humble way. And it allows you to get to know yourself and to develop more confidence about who you are and to develop the capacity to talk about what feels scary, your needs, your desires, the things that matter most to you. So, as you get to hear from others about their practice of love, and I will be vulnerable about my own practice as well and bring in some of that, I hope that you stay connected with me. I hope that you ask questions. I hope that you let me know if you have ahas or insights. And I hope that you let me know what you want more of. And I'm excited to be launching Practicing Love. So join us for our next episode and we'll see you there. And as a celebration of the podcast launching and to support you in your practice of love, I'm making my book Honest Sex, A Passionate Path to Deepen Connection and Keep Relationships Alive, available to you for free. It's a guide to release struggle, shame, and self-doubt from your love life, to learn to be honest in a way that creates connection, and to understand what sex actually is, because most of us were given a very limited idea that creates pain and struggle for a lot of people. So I want you to have the love and sex life you want, and just click on the link in the show notes to get your copy. I'm so glad you joined us for today's episode of Practicing Love. I hope you enjoyed our conversation and gained insight into yourself and your current and past relationships and inspiration for what's possible. If you like what you heard, I'd be so grateful for you to subscribe and write a quick review to help people find us. If you'd like more support in your love life, be sure to get your free copy of my best-selling book, Honest Sex, at shanajamescoaching.com/free. That's shanajamescoaching.com/free. And we'll see you next time.